Hi everybody, it is Mom of Two Wife of One, and we are back for another recap of Married at First Sight Season 12. We are on Episode 6. The couples are still in Las Vegas for their honeymoon, and tensions are rising. Despite the obvious drama that happened last night, if you watched the show, another kind of side story I kind of saw where people finally seeing, not finally, but I guess people recognizing the flaws in their spouses, and there's a lot of people making comments like, well, I'm like this and I'm not going to change, that's just who I am. At least three people said that last night. So I think it's really indicative of the fact that when you get married, there are a lot of compromises that you have to make, and it is an opportunity for that person to kind of put a mirror to your face and show your flaws for what they really are. And it's different from your dating because you have time to get used to that and time to figure out if you're willing to change. But once you're thrust into a marriage without that time, that transition is a little difficult. So obviously, again, there was a lot of drama last night, and I know it'd be easy just to start there, but I think I'm going to start with some of the other couples and to kind of lead up to the big blow up that happened last night. Oh, also, if this is your first time here, please feel free to like the video, comment, subscribe, share, do all those things. I reply to every single comment on my videos because I love talking about Married at First Sight, so please do not hesitate to talk to me. I love talking about it, and we can battle, we can agree, disagree, doesn't matter. I just love talking about the show. So I'm going to start with Brianna and Vincent. They're still my favorite couple. I like them because I feel like their progression has just been very natural. It hasn't been rushed. It's been very, not easy necessarily, but you can tell that they're both there for the right reasons. They both are committed to being married specifically to each other, to learning more about each other. They did have a moment where he got annoyed with her, but I did like that he addressed it off camera as opposed to making it like a big issue on camera. And I liked her response to it. Some people, if you, especially someone you don't know that well, they're telling you off the bat, like, hey, I kind of felt disrespected when you did this, and I felt like you were being bossy, and I don't like being rushed, and that's just not my style, and blah, blah, blah. Some people may take that and immediately take offense to it, immediately go on the defense, and kind of snap back at a person. But it was indicative of her maturity and her commitment to the marriage that her response was, I felt so bad because I never want to be that to anybody, let alone my husband, so I'm definitely going to work on it. And she knew going in that she could be bossy, but he hadn't said anything up to this point. So I like the fact that they're at a place in their relationship where they can talk about it and it's fine and there's no beef. And I like that he and she are probably learning how to address their issues with each other, because it's not always what you're saying, it's definitely a lot of how you're saying that to that particular person. So I'm glad that they had the conversation and everything seems to be okay and going, swimmingly for them. But I thought that they were nice. I still like them. I think they're extremely cute. And I like something that she said when she was talking to him about how she's going to have to adjust. She told him, we are supposed to be each other's safe space. So I want you to always feel comfortable talking to me about whatever's on your mind. I will respect your feelings just like I know you respect mine. I was like, that is really freaking sweet. So I really like them. I'm going to go with Haley and Jacob next. So they're the ones who've been kind of labeled as the boring, nerdy couple. He is 38, she is 28. One thing I liked about this episode when it came to them specifically is that this is the first time that I'm seeing Jacob talk about anything of substance with his wife. For the most part throughout the season, he's just talked about, oh, what kind of food do you like? And, oh, do you like this t-shirt? Do you like this? It's been very surface level stuff, and it's like, okay, they're getting along, but there was really no heat, no passion. But I like that he's actually addressing things that really bother him. Because again, this episode was all about, outside of the drama, it was all about learning your spouse and about the things that you're noticing that you don't really care for, or things you're noticing that may potentially be red flags. So we do learn in this episode that Haley and Jacob have sex. And I wrote that in my notes. I was like, they have sex, really? That's because you don't really see them holding hands. You don't really see them kissing each other. So it's like, okay, wasn't expecting that. But he says to her that seems like after we had sex, not right after, but a couple of days after we had sex, you kind of started acting different towards me. And she seemed closed off, and she, I guess, asked for some space. And she keeps saying, I've been used to being by myself for so long. I'm really independent, and it's hard for me to just kind of jump into this thing. But obviously, he's not a mind reader. So for her to say that to the camera, to us, is one thing, but you're not explaining that to your husband. And so I understood his frustration, but I liked that he was being very clear. And she was like, you expect me to just jump into this thing right away? And he said something that I thought was interesting. So Pastor Cal's one of the experts of the show. Pastor Cal talked to him before he got married and basically told him, when it comes to Married at First Sight, do not approach it like it's a first date. If you approach this like it's a first date, guarantee you're going to end up in the friend zone. You have to approach this like a marriage, because that's what it is. You're not dating this person to see if you're going to like them. You're immediately marrying them. So act like a married person. And he was like, because of that advice, I put my all into this. I'm leaning into being married. Like, we're not just dating. So of course I'm gung-ho and I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to move in together and we're going to do this. And she's just a little slower to do it. But it's like, if you know this about yourself and know that you don't like doing anything too fast and you like taking your time, then why would you sign up for a show where you're getting married at first sight? That doesn't make any sense. And he calls her on it and she basically has nothing to say. But then it gets worse. She tells him the night of, I guess the last night there, that, oh, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to have like a little girls' night for our last night and meet up with the other wives. He's like, okay, cool. Do your thing. Have fun. He stays in the room. She goes downstairs. He goes downstairs to get something to eat or to get something to drink or whatever. He goes downstairs. He sees her hanging with all the couples, the husbands and the wives. And so I guess when he saw her, she looked like a deer in headlights. So he maybe got pissed off because he knew that she blatantly lied to him and just did not want him coming downstairs to be with the other couples. So he's in a pissy mood, and, you know, understandably so, he should be. So I don't know what's going to happen with them. I feel like last night, I'm glad that the drama of the other couples didn't shadow what was happening with them specifically. It made them a little more interesting to kind of see their dynamic with each other and see that she's having a difficult time adjusting to just being married. But again, the reality of the show and the idea of the show are two different things. So it's one thing to be like, oh, I can't wait to get married, and this show is a great idea, I'm finally gonna have a husband. But then the reality of, oh, wait a minute, he's with me all the time, 24 hours a day, I'm in the room with him, or we're, you know, doing this together. When I turn around, he's right there. Like, I don't know if I can handle that. That's a lot for anybody to take, especially if you don't have time to warm up to the idea. But again, if you don't want to do that, and if that's not your personality to really jump into things like that, then you shouldn't have signed up for the show. So I don't know what's going to happen with them, but they became more interesting last night, finally. The next couple is Clara and Ryan, and my first note is that I really hate Ryan's hair. He's black, and he has like a strip of hair in the middle that's like really fine hair, and I guess like almost like a comb over, but not really a comb over. But it's so annoying, and it just really bothers me. And that's always my first note every week. Like, I hate this man's hair. So the thing that came up with them that made Clara a little concerned is that Ryan has never said I love you to a person. Despite having been in relationships that have been years-long relationships, he's never said those words to anybody, whereas Clara loves very easily. So she sees that not necessarily as a red flag, but something to be kind of concerned about, because her biggest fear this whole time, and she said it the night of the wedding, like, my biggest fear is that I'm going to fall in love with you and you're not going to feel the same way, because she knows herself well enough to know that she loves easily, she loves hard, she's, you know, embracing this for all it is, and like, yes, I'm gonna do this. And for him to not have ever said that, because like, I don't, you know, the word shouldn't be thrown around or whatever, that's making her a little uneasy, because again, it's bringing up all those fears that she has of not being loved in return. So we don't know what will happen. But Clara, I like Clara because she does speak her mind. He's very reserved and he's quiet. She speaks her mind. And he says, you know, a lot of times the things that she says, I agree with things that she says. I just wouldn't say it. So I don't see that being a concern necessarily, because she's not saying anything out of pocket. But it was funny in her interview, she's talking about Chris, who's, you know, the problem groom of the show this season. And she said, you know, because at one point all the girls were together and did like a class where they were making drinks, like a mixology class, and just like having lunch and hanging out. And in Claire's interview, she was like, you know, I just feel so bad for Paige. She's really quiet and she's withdrawn. And, you know, honestly, I'm not a fan of Chris. And truthfully, if any guy was going to have a woman out of, you know, getting a woman pregnant, whatever, it would have been Chris. I was like, God dang. And I thought it was interesting because I didn't know that some of the other brides didn't care for Chris. And I think that those feelings came about before he even popped up with this news of his ex being pregnant. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So I don't know if it's because, I don't know if it's because Paige told them about him not being attracted to her. I don't remember her having that conversation with them necessarily. But I thought it was interesting that they already just aren't really feeling him. And yeah, so I mean, that's Clara and Ryan. I think they'll be okay. she said they're having a physical relationship, but she doesn't specifically say sex because he actually doesn't want to have that on camera and wants to keep it private. We're just like, okay, that's fine. And another thing that I like that Clara said is I thought was very key for every couple in the show. Again, if you saw the show last night, if you've seen any of the news, you know there was a big blow up between Chris and another couple, a couple other people actually last night. And one thing Clara said was, I didn't sign up to be in anyone else's marriage. I came to be married and focus on my husband, and that's what I'm going to do. I love that. Succinct, short, to the point. I am here for one reason only. I'm not here to get yelled at. I'm not here to break up no fights. I'm here because I want to get married. I'm focusing on my husband, getting to know him, and making sure my marriage is as strong as it can be. I have nothing but respect for that. With Virginia and Eric. So this is one thing I thought that was interesting. Last week, Virginia and Eric were having conversations, and as a recap, Virginia is known as like the party girl, and Eric is divorced. He's a pilot, but he's also in the Air Force, so he's gone half the month. He's a little more, he's Southern conservative, and she's very much, and she even said it, she's like, you know, one of our concerns is that he's a Southern conservative, I'm pro-choice, like I'm a little more free-spirited, and, you know, he's very much like, he likes to use the word boundaries, like, you know, these are the boundaries and these are the rules. And one thing I'm starting to not like about Eric is I feel like a lot of times when he's talking to her, he's talking down to her like she's his child as opposed to his wife. And I feel like he's already adopted this mentality of, okay, I'm 34, she's 26. It's my job to show her the way to be, to show her the way to act like this and the way to accept this. And I need to make sure she understands the rules of our marriage. So the rule 1 is that you don't have any male friends. Rule 2 is that you shouldn't be drinking all the time. Rule 3 is blah, 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 blah. And that's going to get old really quick because even though she's young, she's not dumb. She does have her own mind, and she's already seeing some of these like kind of difference in the way we do things. And so I already said from the get-go that I don't think they're going to make it. But last night kind of secured that for me because last week he told her, I don't believe that men and women can just be friends unless the man is dating one of your friends or the man is gay. And she has a bunch of male friends who are like her brothers. And so him saying that upset her. But last night we didn't see her reaction. She was just like, you know, just kind of made a face like, well, I love my male friends. I don't know how that's going to work. And that was really all we saw. But then this week they showed, I guess, a flashback where they didn't show last week where she talked to Claire about it, and she was basically crying to her like, I don't know what to do because I love my friends. I'm not giving up my friends, but I want this marriage. And I thought that was kind of interesting because I didn't realize she was that upset about the conversation until they showed that clip. And I don't know what's going to happen with that. Claire, I thought, gave her some really good advice. Claire was like, well, when you guys get home, why don't you have some group outings with your male friends so that Eric can get to know them a little better. And then maybe after that, he'll kind of warm up to them and then you can like hang out with them or whatever. But I don't know. Eric and Virginia, they're just so different. And then he got drunk one day when the guys were hanging out like with the guys. He was clearly drunk. And he made a comment to her when he got back to their room, like basically, and she knew like he was drinking to kind of keep up with her because she's drinking a lot. And he was like, yeah, she's drinking so much, and I don't know if that's a concern. And I was like, okay, yes, it's a concern, but keep in mind, you're in Vegas on your honeymoon. Everybody on their honeymoon drinks a lot, like they do. So, and you're in Vegas, like everybody drinks in Vegas. I assume I've never been, but everybody drinks in Vegas. I don't think this is necessarily a major concern then. But then she confessed that, well, you know, when we get home, you know, my friends and I, we hang out all the time and we go drinking every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I was like, and I had to think, when I was in my 20s, did I do that? And I do remember when I was in my 20s, I did go to the club kind of frequently. I had a friend who went a lot more than I did. She definitely went at least 3 or 4 times a week, and we had full-time jobs. We worked together. But she held it down. She would go party. And, you know, she had friends who were bouncers or who were club promoters. So she would go just to kind of show support, dance, you know, have a couple drinks. She wasn't getting stinking drunk every night. And she would come into work on time, do her job, and keep it pushing. So I feel like it's okay to have that kind of lifestyle, especially at that time. We were both single, no kids, This is the time to do that. And not saying when you're married you can't do that. I did think it was interesting that she was like, this is what I do with my friends 3 times a week, and I want you there with me. And it reminded me again of old girl from last season who had this great life that she loved, but she got married not so she could create a life with another person, but so that that person can be ingrained in the life she already had. And it's like, that idea sounds great in theory, but you don't know the person that you're marrying. That may not be their steed. So that means that you need to compromise and still have your life, but think to yourself, okay, what can I do with him that is just our thing, not my thing that he's just kind of being dragged to. So hopefully Virginia and Eric come to some kind of compromise. He did tell her, like, look, you need to understand and appreciate that I can't go drinking with you 3 times a week because of my career. And she's like, okay, you need to understand that I'm going to do that with my friends because those are my friends and that's our relationship. And he's like, yeah, I'm fine with that as long as you understand the boundaries and you remember that you're married. Like, he again, I feel like he talked to her like a child. He said to her, you have to understand you're married now. You are no longer single. You're with me. She signed up for the show. She knows that she's married. Don't talk to her like she's stupid. She understands the situation. Being married doesn't mean that you're dead. Doesn't mean you have to be home all the time. It doesn't, it doesn't mean a lot of things. But I guess in his mind, because he's older and because he's been divorced, he knows what makes or breaks a marriage. But technically you don't. Virginia is not your ex. She's a completely different person. So the things that you did or didn't do with your ex may not apply to Virginia. And again, he is really conservative, and I don't like the way he talks to her. And even other guys that he's talked to on the show, he talks to them like he's the child. I mean, like he's the father. He's not even the oldest guy on the show. So I'm not really feeling Eric too much right now. I was like, I don't know about all that. So, okay, I did Claire, I did Haley, I did Virginia, okay, so now we're to Paige and Chris. You guys... If you did not watch last night's episode, after you watch my review, because I know you're going to watch my review because you love me so much, after you watch this review, please look up any other review that anybody else posts, because I can guarantee you there are at least 25 videos on YouTube of other people talking about the debacle that happened last night. So with Paige and Chris, we know that last week, Chris finally broke the news to her that his ex-fiance is 6 weeks pregnant with his child. We also know that he talked to the rest of the couples and told them what was going on. And Virginia, and granted this was very rude of her, she asked, oh my gosh, is it yours? Like, that's a very, very rude question. Why would you do that? That was rude and that was unnecessary. And then Eric chimed in like, look, that girl out there, Paige, she's your responsibility, man. You have to step up and make sure you're there for her, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, he knows that. It was definitely kind of weird. And it's like, and it was also showing that things about to blow up, specifically between Chris and Eric. So, oh Lord, I don't even like talking about Chris because he's just so annoying. And also, this will be hopefully the first and only time that I ever agree with Chris with something that he did or said. Because there's too many things about him that I dislike, but I don't even like agreeing with him ever. But a couple times I was like, you know what, he's right. His approach may be effed up, but okay, he's right. So one thing that I noticed, just showing them like in bed together, eating, smiling, whatever. I was like, my note was like, how is she so comfortable just smiling in his face like nothing's going on? But I did see that while she was with him, she was smiling and just acting her normal self. But when she was with all the girls, she was really quiet. She was really reserved. She was just kind of watching them, nodding her head, not really, speaking up and adding to the conversation. So you could tell that something is weighing her down. You could physically see that when she was with the other brides. So, and he's, telling her that, she's the number one person in his life and he's fully invested in their marriage and all of this other stuff. And then they had a conversation about money, and he was like, how do you feel about like joining separate accounts? And she was like, well, I definitely feel like we should have at least one joint account for the bills, and then we can have our own stuff, but as a married couple, you should have this. And he was like, I don't believe in joint accounts at all. I feel like, I'll have my money, you have your money. Obviously, if you need something, you can ask me. And she's like, basically, he is a person who has been broke before. He has money now, and he's indicated that in the past he's had women who have only been with him because of his financial situation. So I guess that's why he has it in his mind that he doesn't agree with joint accounts. But it's like, again, this is your wife. She didn't marry you for your money because she didn't even know who you were before she married you. She don't know how much money you make. She's not here for that. So I understood her being a little upset about it. And then there was a conversation about her dog, and he was like, yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting the dog. She's like, oh, cool. She was like, so how do you feel about taking the dog out for walks? And he was like, nah. He's like, I mean, if you take care of it, I'll play with it. And she was like, in her interview, she was like, so I'm basically willing and signing up to be a bonus mom to this child that ain't even here yet, and you can't even walk my dog? Like, what kind of sense does that make? And again, I think it adds to her view of him being selfish. And it was like, not a silly conversation, but I didn't take a lot of stock in it, but I understood where she was coming from. And, oh, gosh, okay. So, here's what happened. This is the big blow up. So, Paige and Chris, Ryan and Clara, and Virginia and Eric decided to go ride or drive some ATVs, right? So it's a nice little couples excursion. Everyone's having a good time. It's fun, blah, blah, blah. So at some point after they do this ride, Chris is standing outside with Clara and with Virginia. Not sure where Paige is. Don't know where Eric is. I feel like Ryan was kind of off to the side. But Virginia and Clara took that opportunity to talk to Chris about the situation with Paige. Now, I have a lot of strong feelings when it comes to some of these things. I feel like, yes, you guys can be there for Paige. You consider her a friend. That is all well and good. That is great that you are there to support her and love her in whatever decision she makes. You do not have the right to confront Chris about what he's doing with his wife. That is none of your business. And I know and that's the only time I agreed with Chris, because he was getting really upset. Because keep in mind, you have two very opinionated, very assertive women in your face asking you, well, she's really upset, and what are you going to do? Are you showing her that she's the world to you? Are you showing her that she's special and she's beautiful? It doesn't seem like you're going out of your way to do stuff. That's not your business. At all, that is not your business. I know that's your homegirl, so just support her in private and just continue to let her know, hey, Paige, I got you, whatever you want to do. But you don't confront her husband. Because again, now he's this black man basically feeling backed into a wall with these two women coming at him. So now he comes out fighting. And granted, the way he talked to the women wasn't nice. It wasn't respectful. However, it was disrespectful of them to approach him in the first place, because he told all of them point blank, after he told them about, my ex is pregnant, whatever, he's like, I appreciate you guys supporting us, but Paige and I are going to work this out, so I just appreciate your privacy from here on out. Just, let us deal with this on our own. Please just don't ask a lot of questions. We're still trying to figure out how this is going to work, which is a very valid thing to say. I agreed 100% with him saying that. And so for them to approach him in that way, that wasn't necessary. So it got louder and louder. And it was funny because Clara started asking questions, but then she saw Chris's reaction. She saw him not balling his fist up or anything, but she saw him getting heated and upset, especially because he was talking about their fake concern. And which bothered me, because I know why he said it. So last week when he told everyone that he was having a baby, everyone basically was like, Paige, we're here for you. We know this is a lot. We're here to support you, blah, blah, blah. He goes a fake concern because he was upset that everyone was showing concern for Paige and support for Paige. And he didn't feel like anyone was showing concern for his marriage. And okay, you have every right to feel the way you feel. Valid, whatever. Forget all that. I'm about to say F that, but forget all that. Yes, I'm here for Paige. If she decides to stay with you, I'll support her. If she decides to leave you, I'll support her as well. I don't have to be in support of your marriage. I understand you just got this bomb dropped on you, but again, before the whole baby thing, he'd already kind of shown himself to be arrogant and insensitive and narcissistic and a lot of other things. I already had these negative feelings towards you. The baby just made it that much worse. So no, I don't have to show support to you. I'm showing support to your wife. So be happy that she has all these people around her who are giving her support and who are giving her love. So he felt kind of slighted. So that's why he was saying that they're showing fake concern and all this other stuff. And so after a while, I was saying that thought was funny with Clara. Clara was saying stuff to him, but then she saw him getting angrier and angrier, and she got really quiet and stopped talking. Virginia I don't know if it's because she's 26 or what. She just kept going for it. It's like, well, no, actually, I don't believe you. And actually, yeah, you don't have to explain anything to me. But I asked you a question, and all of a sudden you're getting this. We're having a self-conversation. I don't understand. And I was definitely getting mad at her. Like, girl, what are you doing? You see he's getting upset. And even if he wasn't getting upset, this is not your business. Why are you so invested in this? Yes, you like Paige, but you've known Paige as long as you've known your husband and everybody else on the trip. It's been, what, maybe a week and a half that you've known her? You don't have to go to bat for her like this. She's a grown woman and she can fight her own battles. So while she's going off with Chris, Claire is quiet, and she said in her interview, she was like, as soon as I saw him raising his voice, I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. And I'm like, Virginia, why are you so talking? Why would you poke an angry bear? Why would you make the angry bear even angrier? And I just thought that was a really funny line. But they're like going for it, and then Eric comes out of nowhere, and of course he's trying to come to the defense of his wife, but Eric wasn't there at the beginning to hear the things Virginia was saying. So, and Ryan was nearby, and I feel like Ryan is like the quiet one, so he didn't want to intervene, but I feel like if I'm Ryan, in my head, if I'm Ryan, I see my wife having kind of a verbal altercation with this dude, I may not get, if I'm not going to get in his face, then I'm at least going to get her hand and take her away from the situation. Like, look, you ain't got to deal with that, forget that, let's just go over here. So that happens, and he's like, yeah, we're done, whatever. Still very much belligerent. Again, I don't know where the heck Paige was. So then they're in a van going back to the hotel, and I missed most of this part because I purposely didn't want to watch the rest of this particular scene. Paige and Chris are in the back seat. Ryan and Claire in the middle. Virginia and Eric are in the front. So they're basically still talking and yelling at each other. And it's Virginia and Eric against Chris. And Paige is basically like, okay, stop, enough. But Ryan and Claire, their faces were firmly out the window. They weren't paying attention to nothing. They were ignoring everybody. They were just like, ooh, the dirt looks really nice. Ooh, the skies are, that's so nice. Oh, look at that rock. Oh, that was nice. And they just ignored everything. And I thought that just particular visual was just very funny because they were just like, why are we here? Why are we with these other people? I don't get it. Get us out of here. So all of that was very amusing to me. And I was thinking that if Brianna and Vincent had been on that trip with them and they'd all been in the van together, or even like after the ATV thing, I feel like Brianna would have discouraged Virginia and Clara from talking to Chris. I feel like she would have been like, you know what, I know we love Paige, but that's not really our business. I think it was just, let him handle stuff on his own with her. She's a grown woman. Let's just have her back and let's just leave it at that. I feel like Brianna would have been the voice of reason. Haley, I don't think would have spoken up. She definitely wouldn't have confronted Chris about anything because I don't think she really cares. And it was funny because after that, they're having their last night together. So they're having a dinner with all the couples. And one thing I will say, Paige's dress was gorgeous. She's a little darker than I am, and her dress was this beautiful gold color. It was stunning, beautiful. So at dinner is all the couples with the exception of Eric and Virginia, because Eric and Virginia are always late, because Virginia's always late. So it was key that they were late to this particular dinner. So at the dinner, Chris publicly apologizes to Paige. And he was like, I know I've put you through a lot, but I'm here for you. And, you mean so much to me. And he was like, I even called my grandmother to pray for me. And my grandmother was like, well, you married now. Have your wife pray for you. He's like, so I asked Paige to pray for me. She laid her hands on me, and I just immediately felt better. I felt this weight lifted off of me. And, she's just been such a great woman of God. And I haven't been a good man of God. And I was typing notes when he said that. And I was like, duh. Because he hasn't shown himself to be a man of God at all. And just in his actions, at least on TV. And so he apologized to her, and then he talked to Ryan and Claire. He's like, I want to apologize to both of you. I was so disrespectful. It was completely out of line. I really apologize. Ryan, I apologize for disrespecting your wife. That wasn't nice. I'm doing a video.
No more tissues.
Okay. Bye. Thank you. So, yeah, sorry. So, he apologized to them, and they were like, you know what, we appreciate that, we get it. And it was funny to see Jacob's expression, because Jacob and Haley, weren't on the trip. So Jacob's just looking back and forth, and he's like, I'll give Chris benefit of the doubt. He was like, but truthfully, I'm hungry, and I don't care. And I think that's how he and Haley both feel, I don't care. Do whatever you need to do. They ain't got nothing to do with us, whatever. So then Virginia and Eric come downstairs and come to dinner, and as soon as they sat down, Eric immediately addressed Chris, and I thought what Eric said was right. He had the right to speak up for his wife. I don't think he came at him in a disrespectful way, but I think Chris took it, I understand the way Chris took it. So Eric basically sat down and was like, I just want to, address Chris for a minute. He was like, I know things got really heated earlier today, and it got really ugly and nasty, and I just want to say that the way you talk to my wife that is unacceptable. So we need to create some boundaries. I just don't want you addressing her that way again. If you have something to say to her, just say it to me. Man to man, we can talk about it. But I really don't want you talking to my wife that way again. Very valid. You're sticking up for your wife. I thought that was extremely valid. And then what I loved is before Chris could respond, because all Chris heard was man to man. So in his mind, Eric wants to fight me. Eric ain't mentioned nothing about fighting. All he said was, talk to me if you have something to say to her. I don't want you disrespecting my wife and yelling at her again. That's all he said. So I understood where Eric was coming from. But again, Chris's mind immediately went to, Eric is trying to fight me. So before Chris could say something, Ryan, he's going to be the peacemaker. He's like, okay, well, before you guys say anymore, I just want to say, Eric, Virginia, Chris came down and he just apologized to everyone at the table. So I just want to let you guys know what the vibe is here, because I don't want you guys to get all hyped up and make the situation worse when we're trying to de-escalate things. So he was trying to be nice and very PC. And it's like, oh, Ryan, you're so sweet. But then Chris came back and, Eric was like, no, I want to respond to Eric. And basically just saying all this gibberish, like, your wife was out of line because I said I wanted privacy and I said I wanted this. So now all the apologies that he had in his head completely went out the window, because in his mind, Eric is being disrespectful. So they're going back and forth. Virginia jumps in and Virginia's like, you know what, let's just leave. So she's grabbing Eric's arm to leave, not to fight Chris, not to get in his face. She's just like, Eric, like, let's just go. No, we're not going to do this. So she's grabbing Eric's arm to leave. But when Eric gets up, Chris in his mind sees, Eric is coming at me. Eric was not coming anywhere near you. His wife is trying to get him to leave the table. He was going to follow his wife back to their room. But Chris gets up. Vincent is fast. Vincent comes over and pushes him back and basically pushes him like out of a door so that they can calm down. So he's walking with him. Brianna is walking with Paige. And it just turned into this whole cluster mess of stuff. And it's like, this is just wild. And everybody else sitting at the table like, I thought I was dramatic. Like, I don't have time for this. It's not why I'm here. So fast forward, it's the day of, their last day there. Everyone's packing. And Paige and Chris have this conversation where Paige is basically saying, there's a lot of things that we still haven't discussed as it relates to your ex and as it relates to this child. Like, have you thought about what this means and what this whole situation looks like? And he was like, not really. He's like, I have talked to my ex. And he's like, but it's weird because last week she was blocked and I was blocked. And this week she's having a baby and now we have to talk again. So it is really weird. I don't really know what this looks like in the future, which is a valid answer. But then he says, she and I have been having conversations about what co-parenting looks like. Because I don't want another man raising my child. So I have to look at, we've been looking at what co-parenting looks like. And we've discussed, if that means getting back together. And she's like, you discussed it. Like, what does that mean exactly? He's like, well, we just kind of discussed if that would be the right thing to do. He's like, because I still love her. And Paige is just like, I just can't do this. She just puts on a jacket and she just goes for a walk. And she's like, you've already given me a lot. And now you're telling your wife, who you made vows to, that you've been talking to your ex-girlfriend about getting, and not ex-girlfriend, ex-fiance, you've been talking to her about getting back with her, even though you're already married to me. Why is that conversation even happening? Why is that even an option? You already took vows. Like, what are you doing? And even to admit that he's, still loves her, is in love with her, whatever, just kind of sent her over the edge. Now, Paige, one thing that annoys me, because she came back after a while and he, he's telling her, talking to her, whatever. And then he's like, I just want to let when you prayed over me, I found you very spiritually attractive. I'm very attractive to you. And then she just started smiling and just like, oh my gosh. And it made me realize, and I probably knew it all along, she has really low self-esteem. Because every time she has one foot out of the marriage where it's like, no, this is it, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. As soon as she like has that inkling like, oh, I need to leave, this is too much, he'll say something, he'll start pouring on the compliments. You are just so sweet and you're so smart and you're attractive and I really like this about you and I can see why we paired up. But he just pours it on super, super thick. And then she just gets all giggly like, oh, he's just so sweet. He sees me for me. And it's like, girl, no. Because he does it. It's a cycle every single episode where the compliments come out of nowhere and he pours it on and pours it on and pours it on until she forgets about the fact that she was just about to leave. So it's bothersome to me. It's sad. And that's basically how the episode ended. They're all about to go back to Atlanta and they're going to adjust to living together. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really hoping that she leaves just because this is a toxic relationship. It's a toxic cycle. It's already hard being with a person who already has a child, especially if the child is young, because you do have to deal with that baby mama or that baby daddy. And sometimes it's okay and everyone is amicable, and other times it's just disastrous. But for you to be freshly married to this person, you don't love him yet. So this is the perfect time to leave if you need to. But to just freshly meet this person, now you gotta deal with being a bonus parent, deal with this ex-fiance. Who knows what her attitude is going to be? The fact that he's got married after he had sex with her 6 weeks ago. Who knows where this is all going to go? So I don't know what's going to happen, guys. It's a lot of drama every single week, and I'm glad that the other couples have other things going on, so the show isn't solely about Paige and Chris. But it's a lot. It's really a lot. So leave your comments below. Do you think Paige is ever going to leave Chris? Do you think that Virginia and Eric are going to make him once they get back to Atlanta? Like, what do you think? Leave your comments below. I promise I will reply to every single comment, good, bad, or whatever. But yeah, leave your comments below. Like the video, subscribe, follow me, and I will see you guys next week. Peace.